Get ready. Hello! Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are now down to our second session of this three-part webinar series on psychosocial awareness for teachers and students in the age of COVID-19 via MSU-IIT Audiovisual Multimedia Center, live with no commercial break. I am Leo Santillana, your moderator, at your service. Before coming to this webinar session, I believe that you have already answered the survey to help us in the discussion for today's topic. Should you have any query, you may raise your question on YouTube and Facebook. Just key in your question in the comment section down below. After the session, you are required to answer the evaluation form. The link of the form will be provided or posted in the comment section on YouTube and or Facebook. You will have until 11 p.m. to comply this requirement to receive your certificate. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to ask you to please share the link of this live session so that others may also be able to access this talk that is very timely and relevant for our welfare, especially in this time of pandemic. So, without further ado, I know you are excited for this morning's session. I have the honor to introduce to you our special guest. Our speaker is a registered psychometrician and registered guidance counselor, and a top 10 in the Guidance and Counseling Board exam in 2018, who hails from Calian, Marga sa Tubig, Zamboanga del Sur. She earned her undergraduate studies at MSU Iligan Institute of Technology, Iligan City, with degree, Bachelor of Science, major in Psychology, cum laude. Soon after, she pursued and finished her graduate studies with degree, Master in Education in Guidance and Counseling. Her work experiences include serving as Human Resource Officer at North Central Mindanao College, psychometrician at Iligan City Drug Treatment and Rehabilitation Center, and Psychological Services Intermediary, Ozamis City. Guidance Officer and Placement and Practicum Coordinator at La Salle University, Ozamis. Assistant Research Field Coordinator and Research Transcriber at De La Salle University, Manila. College and Graduate School Lecturer, La Salle University, Ozamis City. And currently, she is serving as guidance counselor who previously served as career coordinator and now the peer facilitator and Spectrum LGBTQIA+ advisor at La Salle University, Ozamis City. She has acquired numerous trainings and seminars such as Psychological Association of the Philippines 54th Annual Convention, Suicide Risk in Psychotherapy, a workshop on assessment and response, and Preventing Suicide through Solution-Focused Approach in Ateneo de Davao University on September 20, 2019. She also appeared in a number of seminars and lectures as speaker about topics related to mental health awareness, and also served as facilitator and trainer for capacity building of teachers and other professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome our guest speaker, Miss Caryl Barquilla-Tano.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, IT College of Education. I'd also like to say thank you to Ma'am Geraldine Go, my professor way back when I was in college, for extending this invitation. To all the faculty, students, and to everyone who's viewing this right now, good morning. To share my presentation. Hello, Sir Leo. Pass it.
Yes,
Ready?
Ma'am Jean. Yes, we can see your presentation now.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm going to talk about managing time and dealing with distractions. Like this is very relevant right now that we have shifted in this new normal. Most of us are working from home, are also studying from home. Like despite all the benefits of working and studying in the comfort of our own homes, like probably when you're hungry, the kitchen, like you have your refrigerator right there, you can probably even eat while you're working right now. You do not wake up that early anymore because you won't need to commute to physically report to the university. You also get to spend more time with the people around you. Despite all those benefits and a lot more, we are also faced now with different kinds of time management challenges. The time management strategies that we have prior to the pandemic might not be totally that effective or probably might need some revisions. So I'm going to start with this. This model is from Nir Eyal's book Indistractable. So basically, you see that there's an action which refers to all the things that we do, and on the other side, there's distraction, which are actions that move us away from what. On the other end, there's distraction, which are actions that move us toward what you really want. Like probably some of us would identify social media as a source of. For parents that are working from home, probably the sudden interruption from your kids, or it could also be the noise coming from your surroundings. But even televisions, telephones, which were sources of distractions as well. Like I remember when I was in grade school, there's a specific time in the we are allowed to turn on the television. There's also a specific time wherein it must be turned off. Basically, that is to keep us away from being distracted in our studies. And when I moved to high school, there were more distractions ranging from all these books. But there were Harry Potter books, Precious Hearts romance, computer games, barcadas. Those were also some of the distractions I had to overcome way back when I was in high school. This setup when we are working from home, like some of you probably experienced when you set up your laptop and that you're going to use for supposed to do, and somehow probably when you speck of dust and suddenly instead of working there's that urge to sweep the floor, the urge to clean the house, to do general cleaning, to do your laundry. What has been trending over for the past few months probably to gardening or experiment on this new recipe that you like. Also some of the distractions that we have to deal with right now that we are doing most of the things at we are working from home, even though students from home. Like this is still this is still real work, even doing this at home. So there are two triggers. We have internal triggers and there's external triggers. Internal triggers are these both of these triggers prompt our actions. Internal triggers are those in which the cues come from within us. Like for example, when you motivated and or when you're doing a task or and then you feel your stomach growling or when you're craving when you feel sleepy, those are some internal triggers. External triggers, on the other hand, are those in which the cues come from our environment. Like, for example, phone notification, phone call, or probably someone interrupting you. Those are external triggers. First, you'll have to learn how to master your internal triggers. Master your internal triggers, you will really have to check within you, ask yourself about what motivates you to do you're actually not supposed to do at a certain time. Like for example, if you're supposed to be doing a task, suddenly you find yourself like checking social media account. You you do not just the existence of social media, but you would of course also check like what motivates you to check on your social media account at a time when you're actually supposed to do something else. Most of the root cause of this actually comes from our desire to escape reality, the desire to remove that feeling of this task that you're currently doing. Like for example, last week my sister went really dark coffee because she plans to stay late for her studies that night. And I saw her studying for like 10-15 minutes. After 10-15 minutes, it suddenly smelled like. And when I checked on her, I saw her and I asked her if she bought that coffee just so she could stay late polishing her nails. She told me that she's kind of taking a break because she's reading this difficult article because she's studying. So those that is one example of internal trigger. When behavior has been previously effective, that feeling of discomfort in providing, there's also a tendency for us to resort to do it again the next time. So you will have to look for that discomfort that precedes the distraction. These are just some examples of internal triggers which could result in a feeling of discomfort which could leave you distracted. Like the fear of change. Like for example, if you're about to do something that's very different from what you're actually accustomed to, and you're really outcome, unsure of what's going to happen in that task, it's a human natural reaction to fear unknown, to fear change, the fear of failure. Sometimes even the most confident people are like I've talked to one student, for example, who told me that she wasn't able to do her modules, like her modules had already piled up. And when I asked her why, she told me that really doing it anyway. Like even if she started it, she feels like she won't finish it or she feels gonna fail the subject anyway. Sometimes when we are so afraid of something, it on hold, and sometimes until forever. As I've mentioned, my sister took a break from her studies, but I did not really saw her going back to her studies that night. Some people are also used to coming, like even when I was still a student, I can coming from my friends. Like some people likes to work on the 11th hour. Now some that will bring will only work if it's near due date already. But there are a lot of disadvantages to this one. Like you won't have enough review and check. You also it increases also the chances mistakes. And if another task later on, so there's a tendency that it will leave you sacrificing one task, prioritizing one task over the other, or probably reducing all the quality of your outputs. Next is the tendency to overcommit. Now, some people are very enthusiastic into accepting commitments. This could be due to a lot of factors. It could be a result of the need to say no. It could also be a result of the need to please other people. And sometimes overloaded with all these things that we must do at certain time, it could sometimes to lead us paralyzed, no, unable to do anything, unable to start anything. You should also be aware of liminal moments. Liminal moments are transition moments, like from task going to another. Like for example, if you want to open your if you're planning to open your a university website for example, and while waiting for the page to fully load on your Facebook account, while waiting for it to load, or perhaps if you plan to wake up or take a bath at 7:30 a.m., you find yourself like waking up 30 minutes earlier, that 30 minutes, well, probably some would go back to sleep again, savor that sleep again, or some might check notifications, reply to some notifications, watch some vlogs or binge watch some videos. No, there's really wrong with it. Like nothing wrong with you doing all those things. Also, a tendency for you that there's also a tendency for that it could lead you off track. Like instead of initially just planning to spend like 30 minutes, there's a tendency for you to spend like an hour or more. Like set with this one, you know, you probably experienced this yourself. Like initially just plan to watch an episode, and then at the end of and then very curious and interested about what's going to happen next. So you proceeded with one episode to another. Some people, they just notice it's already 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or some people can finish even the entire season overnight. The same concept with this one. Probably some of you went online shopping yesterday, no 11/11 sale. Some probably just initially decided to just check a very specific item, or probably just perhaps. And then you just find yourself like spending an hour adding to cart and another more hour just to remove items in the cart before finally deciding to buy it. So one thing that you will have to do in order to master your internal trigger is to reimagine the task. Like you will have to think of the task in a different perspective, in a different light. Like I've talked to this one that he's very stressed right now. Like he has to do this all these things that were not really originally part of his job description. He's very a lot of deadlines that he has to catch up, and a lot because of the thing. But I've also talked to one 60-year-old teacher who told me that she's very excited because for teaching 30 and or probably more years, now she's doing something that is different. Now she gets to learn something, gets to explore on the internet, gets to explore in these new modes of teaching, and that gets her really hyped and excited. And personally, as a guidance counselor, there are really tasks that I have to do right now that are originally part of my job description. Like, for example, I have videos and pictures for office because that is where students are very active right now, and we also have to get into that platform. But also created this mindset, no, that I always put. I'm very excited that I'm sure that check on YouTube tutorials for tasks that I'm doing for the first time as well. Time management distinguishes spontaneity and joy. This one, like I've thought before that I don't want to manage my time because I don't want time. Like I want things to happen spontaneously. But this is actually because people time well also know that some certain things needs to be organized and some do not. It's when you poorly manage your actually suffer from stress, you suffer from family priorities and disorganization. So even if you manage your time, you can still actually benefit from and you can still enjoy spontaneous things somehow. You also have to make time for your traction. One style fits all. This is also a myth. Like, although there are general strategies in managing time, like, for example, planning ahead, set those are general things, but it must also be tailored to your personal style. For example, some people likes to work in a linear fashion, like they have to finish one task before proceeding in another, while other people likes to work in approach. Like they can juggle multiple tasks all at the same time. So one thing you also have to consider in order to tailor it to your personal style are your values. So you will have to turn your values into time. If I know how you spend your time, then I know what might become of you. So you have to make your own schedule. No, the question is that where do you begin? We begin with answering the question why. Like, why are you going to do it? That is also where your values comes in. Values are how we want to be, what we want to stand for, and how we want to relate to the world around us. Like some students probably values being on top of the class. Some people values being a good leader, a nurturing parent, values intimacy, equality, mindfulness. So you also have to check within you about your values. These are three domains of our life. There's you, your relationship, and your work and your studies. So you will have to categorize your values into these three domains in time for your values. Because if you notice, only applicable to certain domains, although applicable to two or the three domains. For example, I'm living together with my sister, living in this same room, and then our beds are like 1.5 meters apart. There are no walls between us, no doors in between, and that in that same room, do work-related stuffs. I have to also spend time with my, which is for my sister. Also, in that same room, I also get to spend the time for my U domain, for my me time. So we communicate like imaginary wall, imaginary door. Personally, I value mindfulness. So there are times that I do yoga, for example, and because there are no walls separating us, communicated in this imaginary wall, tell each other, okay, I have to close the door, okay, the door, even though technically there are no walls and doors between us. That is my time. That even if my sister is also very important to me, being part of my like
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we are experiencing, our guest speaker is experiencing technical difficulty. So I would like to remind the viewers, no, to uh, do not forget, right after this session, uh, you will be provided with a form that will be posted in the comment section on YouTube and Facebook. That is the evaluation form, and you need to comply this so that you will have as a requirement to receive your certificate, and you will have until 11 p.m. tonight to accomplish this. So let us just wait. Um, Miss, our guest speaker, Miss Caryl Jean Barquilla-Tano, and to recap her discussion, no, she has made mention about the different we have internal different triggers, no? So because we have shifted to a new school setup, we tend to have a difficulty in managing our time and dealing with distractions since we are just at the comfort of our home as our learning environment, and we are prone to different distractions, no? So it was made mentioned by our speaker that we have internal triggers, and that means that these are our actions. And okay, so, Ma'am Jean,
yes, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
it's yes, it's okay. So we have the presentation now. All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest speaker, Miss Jean Caryl Barquilla, is back. Ma'am Jean.
Okay, sir. So So basically, right now that we are spending time for you domain, relationship domain, work, and our studies domain in setting, like in our home, for example, we also have to box our time just so we know when we're going to spend time for our you domain, relationship domain, and work and our studies. Like even if sister is very important to me, like there's nothing wrong with me chatting with my sister. Wrong with in the same way there's really nothing wrong with dramas. There's nothing wrong with on your social media accounts from time to time, or ads, binge watch videos. If that you at that time, it's still traction. Alternative emails, if you're doing stuff, working on a presentation in a time wherein you're spending time for your relationship domain, that is, so you will really have to know what to do and when you are going to do it. Because you won't be able to call someone something a distraction unless you know what it is distraction from. Like what I do personally is that I also manage group chats because active in this pandemic, like students probably has group chats for each subjects that they have, blackmates, social circles. I also have group chat work for my part-time organizations that I manage. In order to in order to avoid being distracted in those group chats, in order to avoid them from being in my phone when I'm not supposed to be working, for example, group chats. Sometimes I even ignore group chats so that it won't really appear in my message. I also created a Facebook account which is intended for students so that it's not synced with my phone. It won't notify me, and I only get hours. Like if you check on news, like diba you see people fighting over properties, fighting over money, and other personal properties that they probably have. It should also be the same way for our personal property that we have. So we also have to guard our time. Um, How much time to spend for each domain of your life? Like how much time do you want to spend for your work, your relationships, and for yourself? This will actually depend on you. Like you will have to make your own schedule, decide on the time for each domain, and you might want to revise this daily, every 2 days, on how much your schedule change varies from time to time, but you will have to commit to it once you set it. We unintentionally spend too much time in one area of our at the expense of the other domains of our lives. Like we hear this from the breakups, we hear this from even breakups. Reason for breakup perhaps is that there's not enough time. Difference in values. Personally, I know some people who change after becoming a parent. They neglected themselves, and it made them very irritable. Hear stories about students getting sick because of studying, or employees getting fatigued too hard. This is somehow because of spending or focusing too much energy and time in only one certain domain of their life. Going back to the three domains, reason why you is at the center of the domains, because your well-being will also affect your relation, your work, and or your studies. The same with other instruments, gadgets that you have require maintenance and care. And maintenance and care also requires time. Same way that we do not want to be late in an appointment, we do not want um, to be left meeting, we should also not delay that we schedule for ourselves. At the very basic level, you box your time, you schedule your time for eating healthy meals, for your sleep, for your hygiene. Like I've saw a lot of memes in the social media about people not really caring about taking a bath right now because after all you won't physically get to meet other people outside your house. But we have COVID-19 right now, and I think this is really the most critical time for you to reconsider that one. Next, relationships domain. We do not only give half of our time for a relationship. Um, we should not just give, di ba, what's tira-tira. Also spend time for a relationship domain. Like, personally, what I do is that I started unfriending people I do not personally in my social media account, in my Facebook, so that even if I'm spending less time in Facebook, I get to be updated because I get to see right away my actual friends. And I also spend time to reply to message and make kumustahan with some of my friends. It's good to talk to other to people, talk about things apart from work, apart from some. I also value intimacy, and my husband is living in another province, so we also schedule a time for video calls. Some people are probably struggling right now with the value of equality. Like in a house wherein all members are probably working from home, studying from home, who's responsible for doing the house chores? Like who's responsible for washing the dishes, running errands, teaching in the family of their modules. Diba, the value of equality. Like I've experienced having this meeting with one of my students. We had this online session through video call, and then suddenly the mother barged in because she wanted her son to run an errand for her. So something like that. These things also must need to be communicated within the family, the delegation of the task within the family. Talking about these things might also improve the relationship that you have within members of the living in the house. The last domain, that's the work studies domain. This is probably the only domain in which you don't really have to be reminded of. Sometimes some people spends so much time on this, but the time that you spend for your work values. Like in this setup where probably all of us are very accessible to your messenger email or phone call. It's very hard, complicated, no, to establish the boundary right now. Are you expected to reply for teachers? Are you expected to reply to messages that are sent beyond the hours? Are you supposed to message your teachers beyond office hours? Are we expected to submit last minute deadlines? Things like this. These are critical questions. Like personally, even though I mentioned earlier that I alternate Facebook account, there are still I receive request messages in my personal Facebook account, and some messages are very hard to ignore. They are urgent cases which I really need to reply even if it's very late. These are critical questions because this will affect the time you spend in other domains of your life. Like time wherein you're supposed to be spending time for your relationship, how or you receive this notification. I'm not really saying that you're not supposed to reply on these messages. You have your university policy that you adhere to, and that's also where you consider your personal values. Then you hack back external triggers. Again, external triggers are those in which the environment. Like this could be people that are very hard to deal with, no? Those people that would go talk that you're in the middle of something. researchers have found that when people are interrupted during a task, they tend to subsequently make up for lost time by working faster, but the cause is higher levels of stress and frustration. I've experienced this one before when I'm supposed to study at that time, and then suddenly a friend came in and we started talking to each other. But there's a part of me that feels really guilty about spending that time there, no? And when studies, it made me study hard, where it resulting in stress. Another study published in the Journal of Psychology, Human Perception and Performance found that receiving a cell phone notification but not replying to it was just as distracting as responding to a message or call. Sometimes even working with sometimes some people will just put their phone in silent mode but still place it in front of them and it will still light up. No, you'll know that there's still notification. Another study conducted in the University of Texas at Austin proposed that the mere presence of one's smartphone may impose brain drain as limited capacity attentional resources are recruited to inhibit one's phone and are thus unavailable for engaging the task at hand. Like basically, if your phone is within your field of view, it takes a lot of effort to ignore that presence. So you'll have to reconsider that one. So how do you hack back these external triggers? Before, I wear these really bulky headphones so that I get to send this message to the people around me that I don't want to be interrupted. Like even if somebody would call me or somebody would attempt to interrupt me, I get to pretend that I'm not hearing anything, even though I'm not actually listening to anything. But sometimes people need an explicit way for them to know that you do not interrupted or you do not want to be disturbed. Like I saw this meme in Facebook about this student who placed a sign outside his door which says like, mawag mo akong currently having my online class right now. Even though that can be easily understood, this should also be communicated to the members living in that same house. This will also encourage other members to actually do the same. So hack back your smartphone. You remove applications that do not really align with your values. You may also even consider removing social media applications perhaps if it's really distracting for you, because after all you can still use it using your laptop, by using the desktop, because phone is very accessible. Consider those things. You also have to replace using your phone as your watch, because some people check their phone. That also comes with a very high risk, because once you check, even though you're just checking, you also expose yourself to other distractions coming from your phone, all those notifications. So you may also consider in using an actual wristwatch instead. Reclaim. You also make on your mobile phone. There's a do not disturb setting. You may also want to use that one. And also only few people that I know of actually takes their takes time to check the setting. You can change the setting of each application, no, allowing only those that are probably important to applications to your phone. In the applications that you are allowing to send notifications in your phone. That's why you're still notified when there's 11/11 sale. Uh, Hack back your desktop. Desktop clutter takes also a heavy psychological toll. Turn off your desktop notification. Like personally in my laptop, I only have recycle bin on my desktop. So you may also consider decluttering your desktop. You may also want to make use install some browser extensions for in order to manage your newsfeed, because news feeds are created to keep us engaged. Now it keeps us engaged and interested. Like it will show things that you are interested in. So, di ba, somehow some people would one recommended video, YouTube video, recommended video to one video to another. Sometimes you just ask yourself, no, why are you watching this video in the first place? So you also have to manage those things. These are just some examples. You may probably know some other things. There's Newsfeed Eradicator. Now, this is also a browser extension which replaces your newsfeed with. There's also Newsfeed Burner. No, wherein you see nothing at all. You see nothing for your newsfeed. Not only in Twitter but also in Facebook and other social media platforms. There's also distraction free too, which disable recommended videos. So you only get search for that video that you actually want to watch. And even after watching that one, you won't see other videos. No, so no recommended videos. There's new book. This is somehow like a game. Like you get to write all the things that you're supposed to do this. And then from time to time, if you're done, you get labeled done and done. And then it's like unlocking. So when you're done, you get to unlock your newsfeed. So before I end, no, these are just some reminders. So like after considering all those things, your personal values, um, you also make sure that what you're scheduling is attainable. The goal that you're setting is attainable. Some would schedule or put something, but still not at time. Like for example, you do not just write this is today, di ba? So you make sure that it's a. So you also make sure that what you're scheduling is something that somehow you may also want to make it measurable. In order to make it measurable, we convert it to numbers. So for example, probably instead of saying um, spend quality time with your family, you may want to include the number of hours. Like you may spend quality time with my family for 5 hours. For example, for if you translate the other example in your thesis, you might instead write read 5 articles for my thesis, no, to make it measurable. And another thing is make deadlines. Like you deadlines for yourself, not the actual deadline. Like for example, if the deadline of the actual task is Friday, you may want to set your deadline. So you will also have enough time to check and review your work, and also perhaps if you weren't really able to do it at the time that you scheduled for your self deadline, perhaps you still have an extra time. No, there's still an extra day for you to accomplish it. So thank you. That's all. These are just some of my in case you want to on it as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker, Ms. Jean Caryl Barquilla-Tano. Thank you so much, ma'am. At this point, I am sure you have some queries you want our speaker to shed light about on some angles with regard to managing our time and dealing with distractions. The question and answer portion will be facilitated by Professor Geraldine P. Go, our monitoring and evaluation head of the College of Education, MSU-IIT. Ma'am?
Hello, good morning, Jean. I have here a few questions. Before I go to the questions, I would like to thank you for accepting the invitation. We are honored to have you as our speaker. Being an achiever yourself, you are really appropriate and the right fit for the role as our resource speaker for the topic. Okay, perhaps if we want to summarize, how do we really manage time? What are those few key points where we can really manage time? Let us start with on the students' perspective or its applicability to students.
Yeah. So one thing perhaps that students can probably try to do is that you may want to, because as what I've been hearing in this setup, like a lot of students are really stressed with the modules. I'm not sure if it's the same in in IIT, but you can actually break down the task. Some students would tell me that they weren't really able to accomplish anything because there are setting very vague goals. Like they write, for example, finish this module or finish this activities. You may want to break down the task so that you'd also feel a feeling of accomplishment. Like the as I've mentioned, instead of just writing finish your thesis, you might want to break it down. Like, for example, read 5 articles today, and then perhaps things like that. You may want to break down your task. And you can also make use of applications. There are applications that are really helpful right now. For example, you may want to make use of Google Calendar, perhaps, because you do not only get to um, I write daily schedules, but also per hour. So you can set up, if you check, probably there are other applications that you may want to explore.
From the audience actually asked about the applications and you actually pointed it earlier. Okay, the applications are helpful in like when is the right time to open your cell phone, to open your Facebook, and to watch your favorite K-drama movie, etc. Okay, so we have here another question. How will I motivate myself if I have goals that were not attained?
Before, and this is based from my personal experience. Before, what I usually do is that I set rewards, but somehow, like for example, if I finish reading 10 chapters, I get to reward myself to eat something, to watch one episode of a drama, for example. As I've mentioned, you may also want to, instead of waiting for that reward, you may want the task that you're actually doing. You start loving what you're actually doing, and so I think it's more of really reimagining the task that you're planning to do.
Imagining the task, or actually this is quite vague. Maybe it's about what kind of goals were they? Is it about goals that were rejected, that were or goals that were not accomplished? So if it is goals that were rejected, then perhaps Jean, if you agree with me, it's about dealing with rejection or with disappointment. So, how do you suggest what should be done by this participant? if they are rejected goals.
Rejected goals. Because when you're managing time, you can, it's a rejected goal, but there's still a because if you manage your time, like for example, um, if you say, for example, you want to finish your proposal, students, you want to finish your thesis proposal, and then for example, you finish it that at that span of time, like you really did all your best at that span of time, but at the end, di ba, na-reject ang proposal, but you still, that there's also an accomplishment that you span of period. But perhaps you can again reschedule and do another schedule in order to cope up with it.
Okay. So it means that you will try again if it is a rejected goal, or you can also allow some time to set the rejection in, no, to feel the negative emotion, and then try to get up. Siguro, Gino, try to get up and to recharge
Yes, ma'am.
until you can again do the task again. So it's really about getting up, not really much on the rejection, but more on how you get up from an accomplished goal. So I have here another question. There are unexpected times that we get distracted. So no matter how much we are self-disciplined, there are really times that um, what are unforeseen events that come, and so we get distracted by our tasks that are being scheduled. So what is your take on that matter?
If it's really somehow you also have to forgive yourself. You do not really have to be rigid in a schedule that you that are also important. And then perhaps you need also to change your priorities at that time. You know, something like that. So you also have to forgive yourself and perhaps set another schedule for that one thing that you probably missed.
So if it's a priority goal, then you have to attend to it. And then if you have attended to it, then you can get back to your tasks again. So in a way, Jean, this is just how you manage
Later na.
through difficult moments, right? This webinar is about how you manage through the multiple roles that you play. And as what you have said, you don't really have to be rigid. No, you just have to, go with the flow and then try to manage yourself so that you can accomplish tasks that you wanted to accomplish. Okay, I have here another question. There are teachers who are also playing multiple roles. So they are here in school, they are teacher. They have various roles, various, how should I say it, various committees, and then as an advisor as well. But at home, they are also mother and wife. So although perhaps that's quite level up, no, sa imoang age, but somehow you have observed others, no? You have observed your colleagues and teachers as well. So what is your take on that matter?
Mama, is
How
this
how
for
do we, if there are multiple roles, how do they actually still manage to face their roles even if there are a lot of roles?
again, even if we are doing all these things at home, work, and although some people being a nurturing parent at home, you will also have to set. You can even make it playful for your children. Like I've read this book, for example, about a working mom, and she bought these LED lights. So she oriented her child that if it's color red, you're not supposed to disrupt me. If it's color green, then it's okay. You can come into me. You can make it even playful for your kids. So you may also consider doing those things.
Okay. So I like what you said earlier that you should really limit your task. You also have to learn to say no, and that somehow there is a set time. So if it's, let's say, after 5, when I go home, 5 to 7, I have to attend to my kids, or 5 to 8, I have to attend to my kids and family. And after that, maybe if you are studying masters or PhD, then that's the time you study, let's say 9 to 12, okay, things like that. So there has to be, from what you said earlier, set time and limit your focus on the task that you will engage. That is what I have
And
understand from
that is
your.
that is also why it is important to set a workspace at home. If you do not have, for example, if you are not fortunate to have this one room for your for work purpose or for your study, you can probably make compartments on one space so that you know that when you step out of that space, you're a mother or you're doing a job. But if you're inside that space, you're supposed to be a student, an employee.
Okay, so setting limits and having a space, no, for your tasks. Okay, I have here, and I believe this will be one last question. Is multitasking a good idea to get the tasks done faster? Is multitasking a good idea to get the tasks done faster?
As I mentioned earlier, there are different types of people. Like some people do in a linear fashion, no, they have to finish one task before proceeding in another. There are some people that are really good with multitasking, like they can juggle multiple tasks, being a parent, at the same time, no, attending to kids while cooking. Some can do that, but others are not also good at it. So you will also have to check on your personal style, on how you do things.
Okay, I agree with what you said. No, it's about your personal style. If you are the type who can do multitasking, but it also depends on the tasks. Like at home, you can do many tasks at the same time, chores at the same time. So it differs on the level of the task. If it is a cognitive task, like for example, writing a thesis, then I believe, in my own experience, that you should really focus on doing thesis writing first and not be disturbed from other tasks, because it is a higher, it entails a higher cognitive load. Okay. So I think that's just about it. I hope there is one last question, by the way.
Okay, ma'am.
This is quite a philosophical question. How can I have time management if I do not have enough time?
You actually get to manage only the time that you have. So you only manage it. Some people, di ba, as I've mentioned, some people would really commit to a lot of things. But somehow, if I listen to other people talking about all the things that they have to accomplish at one time, it would seem like they have to extend their lifespan just so they can accommodate all these things. Like you only really get to manage only the time that you have.
Okay, so I like your answer. So meaning, um, I guess we are always busy. We're always busy, and that is keeping most of our time being busy. But if the question there is, how productive are you in being busy? So if you say here, if you don't have enough time, I guess this refers to you being productive in what you are doing. So as what Mom Jean said, that you should focus what your goals, what and direct your actions towards attaining that goal, and to focus your activities as well, and to remove those other activities that are not related to your goals or tasks. So the thing there is learning how to say no properly without offending the other person as well.
If
So
I,
thank you, Jean. Okay.
I just remembered. Um, sometimes people are, it's really hard for some people to say no, but there are also strategies in saying no, like you can probably offer some alternative bargain, you know, you can start
Yes.
bargaining in order to, probably if you're so afraid not to offend someone or to reject uh, work, for example, or a task.
Okay, yes, that's right. No? Bargaining. Okay, so I think that would be another topic, no? Conflict management and communication, how to communicate to others. So thank you so much, Jean, for gracing our topic for this morning. And I now turn you over to Sir Leo.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Professor Geraldine Igo, for facilitating our question and answer portion for this session. And also, thank you very much to our guest speaker, Ms. Jean Caryl Barquilla-Tano, for addressing the queries of our viewers this morning. So, earlier, our speaker pointed out during her talk the domains of our lives. No? So, we have ourselves, our relationship, and our work studies. So I think we need to establish our priorities, set and provide equal time for each of these domains so that none of these three shall be left behind. And also, our speaker provided earlier some hacks on how we are going to keep away from distractions and triggers, external triggers. So we have a hack back for our smartphone. We have a hack back for our desktop by decluttering desktop mga applications that is found on our desktop. No, so and also installing a browser extension. So these were very helpful, Miss Jean, for those who are having a hard time dealing with distraction, especially with the management of their handphone or their smartphones and desktop and laptop. And lastly, we are, it was pointed out also that we need to establish our goals that are attainable, measurable, and of course, we need to really need to have an eye on the price or on the specific target that we need to accomplish or the deadlines. Okay, so thank you so much once again, Ms. Jean Caryl Barquilla-Tano for gracing this event. And to award the certificate to our guest speaker, let me read the citation. Right? So, Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology, College of Education, uh, awards this certificate of appreciation to Ms. Jean Caryl Barquilla-Tano for her knowledge and expertise as resource speaker during the webinar entitled Managing Time and Dealing with Distractions via said MSU-IIT Facebook Live on November 12, 2020. The certificates given this 12th day of November 2020, signed by Amelia T. Buan, PhD, Dean, College of Education, and Sukarno D. Tanggol, DPA, Chancellor, MSU-IIT. Once again, thank you very much, Ms. Jean Caryl Barquilla-Tano, for gracing this event. Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to answer the evaluation form that is found in the comment section or that is provided in the comment section on your YouTube and our Facebook live or account. And you will have, or take note that you will have until 11 o'clock in the evening to comply this requirement. This will also be needed for your certificate. So, This is the wrap up. This is the end of the session, the second session of the psychosocial awareness for students and teachers amid the pandemic, no, the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is your moderator. This is Mr. Leo Santillana. I would like to tell you, keep safe. Bye.